At midnight, many residents in the same building kept receiving motion alerts from their doorbell cameras. At first, they thought it was only a neighbor passing through the hallway. But when they opened the footage, all of them saw the same strange woman appearing in front of their doors. She walked very slowly down the hallway, with a thin body, long messy hair, and a loose white cloth wrapped around her. In her hands, she was also holding a small object that looked like a doll or an old cloth bag. What frightened the residents even more was that she seemed to be checking each apartment at every door. She stopped for a long time, bending down close as if searching for a key under the mat, looking into the gap beneath the door, or listening to see whether anyone was inside. After bending down in front of several doors, she stopped even longer at one apartment. And this is the moment that haunted many residents the most. She suddenly lifted her head and looked straight into the lens. At that moment, her face became clearer and pale, with wide open eyes, hair hanging down on both sides of her face, and an empty expression that made viewers uncomfortable. No one knows how many apartments she passed by that night. All that is known is that afterward, this woman suddenly turned around and ran up the stairs, as if she had just heard something calling her from the floor above. To this day, it is still unclear who she was, why she appeared in the building looking so strange, and what the thing she was holding in her hands really was. What do you think she was looking for behind each door? Leave a comment below. In the darkness, sometimes just one faint shape outside the porch is enough to make people wonder, is it an animal, a shadow, or something else? This camera footage was originally only recording the small front yard of the house, but it is the dark area behind the white fence that makes viewers pay attention. There, everything is almost completely swallowed by the darkness, and right along that boundary, a strange shape begins to appear. It is low to the ground, with a wide, dark body, moving as if crawling on all fours right outside the porch. Its head is almost lowered into its body, making it very difficult for viewers to determine what kind of animal it is. Just a few seconds later, that shape gradually fades into the darkness. Some people believe it may only be a small animal distorted by the night camera, but after that time, the man living in the house began avoiding stepping out onto the porch alone at night. Whenever he heard a noise outside in the yard, he no longer opened the door to check right away like before, but only stood inside the house and watched through the camera. For him, the most haunting thing was that in the end, no one ever knew where that thing had disappeared to. Walking through the forest at night always carries a very strange feeling. Sometimes what scares people is not a sound, but the moment the animal beside them suddenly stares into the darkness. In this video, a girl is walking her dog along a trail covered with dry leaves. The light only illuminates a small area in front of them, while both sides of the path are almost completely swallowed by the dark. The dog suddenly turns toward the tree branches, as if it has just detected something. The girl does not seem to notice it right away. The camera is still pointed toward the path ahead, but pay attention to the dark space between the branches.
Come on, Bruce. Stop. Come on. Come on. Oi. Come on. Bruce. Come on.
A very blurry face appears. It is small, pale, almost floating against the black background of the forest. The eyes are dark and sunken, while the face is brighter than the area around it, like a head emerging from the darkness. Let's zoom in to watch it one more time.
Come on, Bruce. What's up?
As soon as she notices it, the girl immediately pulls her dog away from the area and does not continue deeper into the forest. Some people believe it may only have been a tree trunk, a streak of light, or the camera distorting the image in the dark. But for the girl, just a few seconds of seeing that thing was enough to end the walk immediately. What do you think appeared in the forest that night? This camera footage was recorded in front of a house in Cleveland, Ohio, on an afternoon in March 2015, when the front yard was still covered with a thin layer of snow. But when the homeowner reviewed it, he noticed a detail that was very hard to explain. Pay attention to the area of snow near the walkway. Something seemed to be moving through the layer of snow, leaving behind a drag trail across the yard. But in the frame, there was no human figure in the position that could have created that mark. The homeowner said this indentation remained in the yard for many hours afterward. That made it hard for him to see it as a brief camera glitch. After the video was shared, some people believed the cause may have been light, tree shadows, or melting snow revealing an old mark underneath. But for many viewers, those theories still were not convincing enough, because the trail appeared too clearly and too silently. The homeowner later said that the house had once had many strange noises, especially after a relative in the family passed away. This detail made the footage draw even more attention. To this day, the mark in the snowy yard that day still has no certain explanation. So what left that trail behind? In Street, Augustine, Florida, there is an old house rumored to be one of the most famous haunted locations in America. This place is located in a historic fortified town, connected to many dark stories from the colonial era in particular. In the adjoining building, there is a room said to be where around 50 people once lost their lives when the city was attacked centuries ago. Wanting to check those rumors, the person recording placed a surveillance camera inside this empty space. At first, the frame was almost completely still. There were only old walls, an empty floor, and a few black pillars standing motionless in the dim light. But look closely at the area near the back wall. A blurry shadow suddenly appeared on the old wall. It looked like a pale human figure gliding through the space. That shadow moved very quickly across the empty area. Then after only a few seconds, gradually faded and disappeared completely. After the footage was shared, many theories appeared. Some people thought it was only a change in light or a camera glitch on the old wall. But with the context of this place, that moment still makes it hard for many people to see it as a coincidence. What do you think just passed across that wall? Sometimes what gives people chills is not a shadow in the night, but an object standing still that suddenly begins to move when no one is around. In the middle of the night, police in Jhansi, India, were called to a park after residents reported that an outdoor exercise machine was moving on its own even though no one was using it. When they arrived, the area was almost completely quiet. The lights in the park were still on. The exercise equipment sat motionless in the darkness, and only a few police officers stood around observing. But then, one exercise machine suddenly began to move.
कितने सेकंड का वीडियो है? 15 सेकंड 16। चलो ठीक है, हम देख रहे हैं सर। 20 सेकंड हो गए, बताओ आराम से। चलो।
The handles of the machine kept lifting up and down, creating a steady knocking sound in the middle of the late night. From a distance, the scene looked as if an invisible person were sitting there, exercising right in front of them. What confused many people was that the movement did not stop right away. The machine continued operating while the police officers stood around it, recording the entire incident. The video later spread very quickly, making many people believe that something strange may have appeared in this park. However, local authorities later said the machine may have been over-oiled in its moving parts. With only a slight push beforehand, the overly smooth mechanism could have allowed it to keep moving on its own for a while. Even so, for those who witnessed an exercise machine moving by itself in an empty park at midnight, that explanation still does not make the moment any less chilling. What about you? If you saw an exercise machine moving on its own like that in the middle of the night, would you dare to go closer and check? Inside old tunnels, sometimes the scariest thing is not the darkness, but the sound that echoes when you think you are alone. He entered the mine in the middle of the night. Outside, the wind was blowing very strongly. But the deeper he went, the more enclosed and heavy the space became. The flashlight only lit up a small area in front of him, making each of his steps slower and more cautious. And this was when he entered the most dangerous area.
We'll keep going down the main tunnel. You can see more of that yellow rock, kind of. Okay. Looks like the tunnel's curving up here to the right a little bit. And I see some timbering. Looks like a lot of timbering. And an ore chute on the right. So, okay, wow. Oh, Jesus, wow, so that goes up into the stope, and you can see up there where my light is, all of those stacked boulders on that big round timber right there. All of that rock is apparently being supported by this ceiling made out of wood and timbers.
Above his head, large chunks of rock were being held up by old wooden beams. Many spots had already bent downward, as if even a small vibration could cause everything to collapse. Realizing this place was too dangerous, he decided to turn back, but what truly made him stop did not come from above. Listen closely from this part.
And then you can see how big these timbers are. That's about almost a foot in diameter, the big cross timbers, so they had to put big ones in here to hold up all of this rock. You can see right here where some of these boards are bending. Do you hear that? Sounds like what is that, wind? I don't know if you can hear that on the camera.
A strange sound suddenly rang out. It was not loud, but it was different enough to make him stand still. That sound did not resemble wind, nor did it sound like falling rocks or old wood shifting. He stayed silent and listened. Then it disappeared, but just as he began moving again, that sound came back.
Wow. I've heard some weird stuff in mines, but that is definitely creepy. I don't know what that is. So let's get out of here and head back out to the portal. That was weird.
What makes it hard to understand is that it only appeared in very brief moments, then stopped completely when he focused on listening. Inside a closed tunnel, sounds usually have a direction or a clear echo, but this time, he could not determine where it was coming from. And even when he was close to leaving the mine, pay attention to the sound behind him. It was still there, very faint, just enough to make him turn his head and look back into the darkness one more time. By the end of the exploration, the strange sound inside this mine still could not be clearly explained. So in the end, what made that sound inside the tunnel? On many mornings, when employees opened the shop, they kept finding the mannequin head on the high shelf fallen onto the floor. At first, they thought the item might not have been placed securely, or that someone had accidentally knocked it down and forgotten to put it back. But this happened many times. So they decided to review the camera inside the shop. In the frame, the mannequin head was sitting on the shelf on the right. Among the display items, its face was turned outward, with black hair hanging down on both sides, looking like an ordinary decoration inside the barbershop. But pay very close attention to that head.
Can we put a security set back? Because that just moved. Like that just moved. Like that just moved.
What are you talking about?
I'm not gonna break it. That right there just moved.
Just a few seconds later, it seemed to turn slightly on its own. The movement was very small, but clear enough to show that the face had shifted from its original position. What was strange was that no one around the shelf touched it. The people inside the shop were still working as usual, almost not noticing that the item behind them was moving. Later, many people brought up that this barber shop was said to have been built on land that once belonged to an old cemetery. That detail made the fact that this item kept falling off the shelf even harder to explain. From then on, the employees in the shop began to feel afraid of working alone, especially during quiet shifts or when preparing to close. What do you think made the head turn? A vehicle-mounted camera recorded a strange moment in a quiet parking lot in Perth at night. The cars were parked motionless under the dim yellow lights, and almost no one was around. At the right edge of the frame, a white shadow began to appear. It moved slowly from the distance, gliding across the parking lot like a figure dressed in light-colored clothing. The shape was quite blurry, with no clear face or body details, only a pale body standing out in the darkness. That human-like figure moved closer to a white truck parked nearby. And there, it stopped for a few seconds, as if standing there looking or waiting for something beside the vehicle. Then the figure continued moving along the row of cars, stepping back and forth for a short distance, before gradually fading and disappearing toward the left side of the frame. The entire moment lasted less than 10 seconds, but its slow and silent movement in the middle of the empty parking lot was what made many people freeze. Some people think it may have been a passerby captured unclearly by the camera, or light reflecting from the streetlights. But later, someone said that the white truck had once been connected to a serious collision that caused one person to lose their life. From that moment on, the sight of the white shadow stopping beside the truck no longer felt like a coincidence. Do you think that white shadow was only passing by? Or was it returning to that truck? A late-night empty train platform is usually left with only dim lights and silent tracks. But the camera at Bautu Station recorded something that was not on the schedule that night. A railway employee discovered the strange footage while checking the station's surveillance cameras. At first, the frame showed only an empty platform. The tracks lay still under the faint light, and there was almost no noticeable movement around them. But look closely at the tracks in the distance. Just a few seconds later, a blurry mass began to appear. It was not clear from the beginning, only looking like a faint, elongated streak of light slowly drifting into the platform area. The more closely you look, the more that shape resembles the shadow of a train approaching. But what is strange is that it does not pass by. That blurry mass slowed down at the platform, as if a train were stopping to pick up passengers, even though no train was recorded as having appeared there at that time. After a while, it gradually dissolved from the frame, leaving the tracks empty as they had been before. When the footage spread, many people believed it may have been a reflection on the glass, a recording error, or an image overlaid from old footage. But for the employee working at the station, that moment was still very hard to forget, because in all his years there, he had never seen anything similar. But if no train passed through at that moment, then what stopped at the platform? This man began recording the room after several items in the house kept being knocked off the shelves for no clear reason. The atmosphere inside the house was becoming more and more tense. But the moment that truly left him stunned happened in the kitchen area. When the lens panned across the dark space behind the curtain, there was one detail that was very easy to miss. Can you see it? Look very closely.
Hey! Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Astagfirullahaladzim, astagfirullahaladzim. Astagfirullahaladzim, astagfirullahaladzim. Keluar, tolong. Ini rumah aku, kalau kau nak buat macam ni, kau ingat aku takut? Kau ingat aku takut? Allah Akbar, Allah. First time tengok, first time tengok. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar. Ni kat dapur.
A blurry figure appeared in the frame, standing still behind the curtain with the shape of a real person. It seemed to be looking straight at him. Terrified, he immediately ran over to check. But when he got there, the area was empty. And right as he was still looking around, a drawer underneath suddenly opened on its own.
Allah Akbar.
That scene truly frightened him. He stepped back, and his voice began to shake, as if even he could not believe what had just happened in front of his eyes after the incident. The man was said to have fallen ill for 4 days, then almost disappeared from social media. His personal page stopped at the final videos about the house. The story of what appeared behind the curtain was left unfinished amid countless discussions, while a clear explanation never appeared. To this day, no one knows whether he was truly okay after those final videos. And a similar phenomenon appears again in the next camera footage, but this time in a place that feels much closer to home. The homeowners began paying attention to the porch after repeatedly hearing giggling and very faint voices outside. The sounds were like children playing in front of the house, but every time they opened the door to check, the porch was empty. Wanting to know what was happening, they reviewed the security camera footage. In the frame, 4 swings were hanging motionless under the porch roof. But just a few seconds later, the 2 white swings on the outside began to sway. What is strange is that the 2 black swings beside them remained almost completely still. The movement of the 2 white swings was not very strong, but it was steady and clear, as if someone had just been sitting there and gently pushing them back and forth. And at this moment, pay attention to the right edge of the frame. Cat slowly appears. It stops and looks straight toward the row of swing, as if it also notices something unusual on the porch. After the camera footage was shared, many people believed the cause may have only been wind blowing through the porch. But if that were the case, the fact that only the 2 white swings were swaying while the 2 black swings remained almost still makes the story hard to close with one simple explanation. What about you? What do you think the cat saw on the porch? A truck driver was driving alone on the Beeline Highway in Arizona at around 2:30 when his dashcam suddenly recorded an image that left him terrified. The road was almost completely empty at the time. In front of him, there were only the headlights, the lane markings stretching into the darkness, and no vehicles or pedestrians visible nearby. But as the truck approached an intersection, a strange figure suddenly appeared in the right lane. Let's zoom in on the area near the road markings. The shadowy figure looked like a person standing or walking slowly right on the road. Its body was pale and blurry under the vehicle's lights, as if it only became visible when the camera got closer. When the driver passed by, that shape quickly disappeared from the frame. After the dashcam footage was posted, many people began debating the strange figure on the right side of the lane. Some people believed it was only reflected light or road paint, creating an illusion. But with this being a route that had once seen a serious accident near mile marker 201, where one person lost their life, and with Highway 87 itself being considered one of the dangerous roads in Arizona, along with many rumors about sightings of strange human figures in the middle of the night, it made many people think of the shadow of someone still lingering around the place where they once disappeared. If you were in that truck at that moment, would you keep driving through that stretch of road? While walking past a building at night, the person recording noticed that a room on one of the upper floors was still lit, even though the surrounding area had almost completely gone dark. At first glance, the room looked as if someone had simply forgotten to turn off the light. But when he raised his phone to record, a strange figure began to appear behind the glass window. In the right corner of the room, a black shadow stood still behind the glass. Its shape looked like a person standing close to the edge of the room, with a dark body and a face almost swallowed by the darkness. What makes this moment unsettling is that the shadow does not walk back and forth like a normal person. It only stands there, silent inside the lit room, as if looking down outside. After a while, the figure seems to step back inside and then disappears from the window. It may have only been a reflection on the glass or an object inside the room, distorted by the light. but in a building that was almost completely quiet at night. That still human-like shape behind the window still made many people watch it again. What do you think the black shadow inside that lit room was? Some abandoned buildings are not frightening because they are empty, but because people always feel as if someone inside never left. This group decided to enter an old building that had once been damaged in war, a place rumored to have seen many people lose their lives after an artillery strike. They went inside to verify the stories about this place. The space was almost completely dark. The narrow hallway, old walls, and empty rooms made every footstep echo very clearly. At first, everything was still under control. They simply shone their lights and moved slowly through each area, trying to listen for anything unusual. But when the camera pointed toward the end of the hallway, a blurry face suddenly appeared in the darkness. Look very closely at the dark area in front of them.
You go on first.
What the hell is that?
Whatever it was. Maybe it's back.
Oh,
I don't know. Kitchen was overheating.
bricks falling down. This whole wall's gone, dude. That's crazy. Old stove. I don't know if you, hold on, you hear that?
I heard it too. Oh man.
All right, let's get out of here, man. It's creepy. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my! Get out of here!
The face was pale, with dark eyes, distorted features, and very difficult to see clearly, but it was human-like enough to seem as if someone was standing very close and looking straight at them. The moment that face appeared, a loud scream rang out. The sound was too close and too sudden, causing the entire group to panic. They immediately turned around and ran, with no one calm enough to continue checking inside. To this day, it is still unclear whether it was a real person hiding inside the building, a stage trick, or something that had stayed in this place for a very long time. What do you think that face was? There are kitchens that fall silent after their owner is gone, but sometimes a few old habits seem to keep repeating in the darkness. For many nights in a row, the man heard noises coming from the kitchen after the lights in the house had been turned off. At first, the sounds were very faint, like a drawer being lightly pulled open or objects touching the countertop. But the next morning, he would find several cabinet doors slightly open, and some items had fallen from where they had been before. Wanting to know what was happening at night, he placed a camera facing directly toward the kitchen. In the frame, everything was quiet at first. The cabinet doors were closed, the countertop was still, and only a few small lights from electronic devices remained. But pay attention to the middle area of the kitchen. a drawer suddenly slid open on its own. Right after that, the cabinet doors began to shake slightly. A few items also fell down, creating clear impact sounds in the empty room. What is strange is that these movements did not happen chaotically. They happened little by little, as if someone were opening the cabinets, looking for something, and touching familiar items. Many people think it may have only been loose cabinets, floor vibrations, or objects that had not been placed securely. But afterward, the homeowner revealed that this kitchen had once been the place where his late wife spent most of her time. She loved cooking, and almost everything in the room was connected to her old routines. From that detail, the camera footage made many people think in a different direction. Perhaps whatever appeared in the kitchen that night did not want to cause destruction, but was only returning to the place most familiar to them. Do you think it was only a kitchen incident? Or was someone still not truly gone? This woman did not think there was anything unusual about the bench on the porch until her dog began barking toward the door, and the doorbell camera recorded a very strange and mysterious figure. At the time, she was waiting for a package, so she thought the delivery person might have just arrived. But when she looked outside, the porch was completely empty. It was only when she reviewed the camera that she saw what had made the dog react. From the area near the bench on the left, a blurry shadow suddenly appeared. It drifted across the front of the camera, almost blending into the daylight, then disappeared from the frame just a few seconds later. What makes the story even more special is that this gift had come from a close neighbor who had passed away. In the past, he used to sit with her in that very spot, and the camera footage was also recorded very close to the anniversary of his death. Some people think it may have only been an insect, a plastic bag, or a small animal passing by the camera, but the figure appeared at a rather unusual height, and it began from the exact area connected to the homeowner's memory. Even so, she does not believe it was something bad. To her, if there really was some kind of presence on the porch that day, it felt more like a visit than a warning. Do you think that blurry shadow only appeared by chance? Or did it really come from the old bench? Sometimes the camera in a child's room does not capture a loud noise or a clear human shadow. It only records the moment a child begins to fear something outside the adult's view. In this video, a little girl named Emma is alone in her room late at night. The room is very quiet, with only the night camera casting a pale gray color over the bed and the floor beneath it. Emma gets out of bed and crawls down toward the foot of the bed. At first glance, the action looks as if the little girl is searching for a toy that has fallen. She leans down close to the space under the bed and looks into the darkness below for a few seconds. But from here, everything begins to change. Look at Emma's legs at the edge of the bed. The little girl suddenly becomes frightened and keeps calling, "Mommy." Her voice grows more and more urgent. But instead of backing away from that dark space, her legs gradually disappear under the bed. That scene gave many people chill, because Emma does not seem to be crawling in on her own. Her body is pulled lower and lower, as if something underneath is holding onto her and dragging her deeper inside. Emma's father later shared the clip online. The family said the little girl was still safe and slept with her parents that night. But her mother believes that her daughter was not simply stuck under the bed. From then on, many theories began to appear. Some people believe Emma only panicked because she was trapped in the darkness, but many others believe this room is not normal at all and advise the family to leave before things go too far. What do you think